Okay, so we're live. Thank you so much, Kkrusher and Mike, for joining today's mini podcast recording. We do these from time to time at zkMe, usually interviewing like interesting customer projects, interesting use cases that we have. And I'm really excited to have you guys on board today. So Kkrusher MD, why don't you kick it off? Like give a quick introduction of yourselves, maybe a quick introduction to the project.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having us, Alex. Super excited to be here. My name's Kkrusher. I'm the founder and CEO of RAAC, which is a RWA and DeFi platform that aims to frictionlessly and seamlessly blend TradFi and DeFi.
Thank you so much. MD?
Yes, Alex, thank you for having us. To build off what Kkrusher said, there's really like 4 areas that RAAC's trying to kind of like target. You can consider these like our North Stars. But the first one is that we recognize that there's a lot of borrowing and lending activity, and we want to participate in that. And so our platform is really designed and geared to cater to that angle. The second is the type of collateral that's being used, Alex, in this type of borrowing and lending strategies is very volatile. It tends to be whitelisted assets like Bitcoin or wrapped Ethereum, and you can see over the last couple of months those are very volatile, and it really causes just like a poor experience for anyone who's trying to do borrowing and lending in a kind of a safe way. The third thing is liquidity. We want to help the liquidity demand. There's massive liquidity demand, not only in decentralized finance, but even in traditional finance. Like it's literally needed all the time. And we feel that we have a solution to fill that gap. And the third and the fourth, which is I think the real like bonus, is the reward layer that RAAC has built with our components. And those 4 areas is what kind of drives the RAAC design, motivation, ecosystem. Yes, thank you.
Super interesting. Like I've been following RWAs for quite some time, and I've always argued that if RWAs are not really able to fulfill on the promise of true liquidity, then there isn't really any additional benefit in tokenizing certain assets. So maybe that's one thing we could dive a little bit deeper. So as representatives of RAAC, like what is your special sauce to attract additional liquidity?
Yeah, I think a big thing is about RAAC, and what kind of makes us a bit different from other RWA protocols is the fact that we feel, in our very humble opinion, that everyone that is doing RWAs is building for what they wish the market was and not what it is. And what we mean by that is everyone's aiming to onboard the next billion users, whereas RAAC is focusing on onboarding the next $100 billion. And how do you do that? And that, to us, that's by integrating into the existing DeFi ecosystems that on-chain users are interacting with all the time. And we feel that you got to be able to do more than just, like you mentioned, tokenize something. If you just bring it on chain and there's no liquidity or utility, it's basically useless. So RAAC really aims to bridge that gap in a seamless and frictionless way, and how we do that is why we're here today, which is utilizing zkMe.
Love it. Yeah, I love the way of turning it around. Like think of the utility first, and then users will follow. Also love the interaction with DeFi. Like privacy, obviously super important in DeFi. So what does privacy mean to RAAC, and how important is privacy for RWAs in general?
Yeah, we feel that privacy is a fundamental right. And the other thing is users shouldn't have to sacrifice that to interact with RWAs. And we feel that zk proofs really provide the ability for users to comply and reveal certain information without exactly revealing who they are, which is critical for all of us in DeFi and why we use DeFi in the first place.
100%. Like in almost every podcast, I repeat the same motivation that originally started zkMe. So maybe I skipped that at the very start, but maybe quick summary. I'm Alex. I'm the founder of zkMe. I started zkMe because I'm an avid DeFi user that has grown quite negative in regards to how banking is done in general traditional finance. And I've seen, the need for like a compliance solution that allows for DeFi to grow in global adoption and become like a true mass adopted tool. And the only way that is possible is if we make it comfortable for traditional players to enter the DeFi space. And probably one of the most important aspects of that is obviously risk management, counterparty risk management, and compliance. And in order to merge both, right, merge the compliance world, but keep it as decentralized and as privacy preserving as possible, I set out to create zkMe. Yeah, zkMe uses client-side zero-knowledge proofs, so it is a way of identifying the owner of a wallet without having to reveal any private data. So if, for example, if you want to access RAAC, you have to prove that you are an individual that is over 18, that is not sanctioned, that is not from a restricted jurisdiction, then you would only disclose that kind of information. You would only disclose like, yes, I'm eligible to enter RAAC, and here's my zero-knowledge proof. The zero-knowledge proof proves that all of the data that you require has been collected, but I'm not sharing it with you. And then the user just stays anonymous until certain potential enforcement actions are taken against the user. So it's truly, to the letter of the law, anonymous until proven guilty. And I believe that's the only way for DeFi to become like a true competitor to traditional finance. And I'm always super happy to talk with every single customer, every single partner, because that means we get one step further in pushing what DeFi should actually stand for. So guys, thank you very much for joining. And thank you for this introduction. I'm really curious about what are innovative approaches to RWA tokenization. So we've gone through so many different waves of tokenizing securities, generating like primitives that help for the tokenization of RWA. But I'm really curious about RAAC's unique model. Like, what does RAAC do differently than most other projects from a tech perspective?
Yeah. From a tech perspective, I would say the thought that went into our design to not create regulatory hurdles in terms of being able to integrate into the existing systems. So although we utilize the zkMe tech, RAAC has also gone above and beyond in terms of solutions to bring assets on chain. So, for example, we have our one-to-one backed real estate NFTs that can be burned for the underlying title, assuming you pass KYC and AML. Because we are a Reg S protocol, we utilize the zkMe stack to basically make sure that minters are not US based or on any OFAC sanctions lists. So to us, it lets us not only preserve users' privacy upon mint, but it goes beyond just legal liability as well. Complying with sanctions is critical, not only because it's strict liability, which means that even if you say we didn't know, that doesn't protect you. But also from an ethical standpoint, we believe DeFi is for everyone, and tech is neutral to a degree. So it allows us to protect ourselves from interacting with any nefarious activities as well, while keeping the NFT open and accessible. It can be traded upon secondary markets, utilized by other protocols and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe these kind of
and if I could
primitives
add,
are...
Alex, if I could add a couple of things to Kkrusher's comments, like the RWA space is really comprised of U.S. treasuries. So if you look at the distribution of assets, there's not much in, say, like real estate or even commodities. So number one, we think it's time to bring this type of asset characteristics into DeFi, and because everything in DeFi kind of like moves together, like correlation, not to use a Finglish, like a financial English term, but like correlation occurs and everyone moves in the same pattern when volatility goes high. So you don't really have any diversified assets to protect the user. So we think by bringing these types of assets on chain into decentralized finance is improving just the whole character of collateral. So that's really important because that actually makes decentralized finance healthier because there's a distribution of risk. Second is most folks automatically go to the fractionalization side, like tokenization, which is great, and there's utility for that. But we're not fractionalizing the NFT homes. So and on purpose, we're doing this so that you could borrow against it. Because again, there are borrowing and lending activity, and there are certain investors who have a propensity to want to do this. The third thing is, in order to make this financial strategy like work, you have to have the math work, meaning it's only worthwhile if it becomes profitable, right? Like you wouldn't undergo activity like this if it doesn't yield you benefits, right? So one of the characteristics on our platform is that we're going to be able to keep borrowing costs fairly low for the user, which really increases their chance of succeeding. So from a difference perspective, when you asked, those are some, and again, it goes back to the fourth pillar, which is rewards, and that we're bringing the real world assets, but we're bringing it into an existing ecosystem in decentralized finance that's really up and running, right? It's like the Curve finance ecosystem, the convex primitive, and it has this whole like layer of rewards in a gamification tied into governance. And then we've adopted best practices that we've seen, because again, like you mentioned, Alex, Kkrusher and I are we are in the space not just to build, but we were the investor first. Like we were the decentralized user first. That's how we got to know all these primitives, and we borrowed a couple of like best practices. Like one is the voting escrow model. So that's going to be attached to the RAAC token, because again, we believe through this gamification and governance, we can layer on additional rewards, which makes the interaction with RAAC attractive and beneficial for the end user. And I think the last thing, and Kkrusher, you could correct me if I'm wrong, is it's really cool, Alex, because of the real estate, we're able to actually leverage the rental income that occurs in traditional finance and bring that in to our ecosystem. And that's fresh capital. That's like not recycled, decentralized finance capital. You follow me?
Absolutely. I mean,
Wicked.
super interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've followed a couple of real estate tokenization projects that have tried both, like tried the fractionalization approach, and some that have tried like not splitting the assets. Can't wait to be a customer of RAAC, that's for sure. But I'm curious about future market evolution. So we've talked about where we stand at the moment with the RWA space, what happened in the past. We see the risk, we see the need for diversification, but what comes next? As like most jurisdictions are very quickly actually evolving regulations. There's a lot happening tech-wise. What do you see as the future of RAAC, as the future of RWA?
Yeah, I think there's always gonna be a duality as institutions come on chain. The need for stricter compliance will be there, but at the same time, I feel that the ethos of DeFi will stay strong, and you'll have these protocols that are open to everyone to use just by connecting a wallet. So similar to how Aave is even moving in that direction with Horizons, you're kind of, I feel like, going to see permissioned assets mixed with permissionless pools. And I think the beautiful thing is we've really taken the time to put all the pieces together on our end when you're not built off of hype or a narrative and a real business model instead. You can take the time. And the great thing is utilizing zkMe and being able to adjust the compliance measures as regulations evolve.
100%. Have you guys ever heard of the Swiss cheese model? So I'm a mechanical engineer by study. So I used to actually work in aerospace, doing like planes and shit.
So you're like a real rocket scientist, eh?
Not quite rocket. I'm an aerospace engineer originally. Used to work in aerospace, then automotive, then logistics, then software. So I've reinvented my career a couple of times. But there's this one concept in engineering called the Swiss cheese model, where you make tech as modular as possible, so that you can have like several layers of intermittent safety, that maybe each safety layer on its own is like can let some risk pass through. But if you add all of them up, you create something that is extremely safe, right? That's why like flying is one of the, if not the most, the safest method of transport, is because there's this like cheese model where you have many different layers of security and checks. And I think that's exactly the same approach that we should be following in finance, in DeFi, in identity, because the world is not black and white. Like that's one of the things that bothers me the most in traditional finance, that it's always this like black and white thinking, where even if you access very low risk, low impact financial services, you have to go through a lot of hoops. That's why certain products are almost impossible for the average Joe to receive and get access to. And I believe like with DeFi and adding like layers of verifications, like anonymous verifications, you can have these many different shades of gray, where you have something that is completely permissionless, like a wallet that was created a second ago can just trade certain products, and then maybe you have someone that only verified, I'm a human, I'm unique, I don't have like 5 different accounts on the same software, like a proof of personhood. And then on top of that, you maybe have like verifications, you have verifications that would check like an accredited investor. And then on top of that, you have a proof of funds. On top of that, you have like risk assessments that go beyond just one single level. So that's the way it should be. Many different levels, with many different products to reach every single user that is out there with their specific risk willingness, risk tolerance, and providing a service that is fully liquid.
No,
Alex, if I could add, like, answer your question that you asked about what do you like, what's coming up. Of course, no one knows the future. It's like, how long is a piece of string? Kind of question. But one of the things that I feel is going to help DeFi down the road, and you're already seeing it, and we're going to play into it, is the stable token market growth, right? Like the real world asset U.S. Treasuries is helping in that, but the stable token market just needs to be much bigger, and not just single currency. Like Kkrusher and we've talked about this. Like, there's an opportunity for more currencies, and this is a function of just growth of the whole space. Like, we're still at 3 trillion, so there's lots of room for the decentralized space to grow, like the whole crypto space to grow, right? So I feel like, and there's even other traditional finance products, because we've seen that decentralized finance is mimicking these existing products that are already in traditional finance, but can be improved when you bring it on chain. So like the derivatives market hasn't really caught on, right? And the last thing I really feel is needed too is education. Like even understanding zero knowledge proofs, which is at the heart of your technology, like how incredible that technology is itself. Financial literacy, like
Yes.
people don't use derivatives because it's really advanced financial concepts, right? So I feel like the space needs both to really grow, right? And we're seeing fire on the stable market, which is great. So yeah, if again, no strings attached pontification, thank you for letting me answer.
No, I'm 100% behind what you just said. Like, education is such a big topic, and yeah, I've seen some encouraging things happening. Like, I see big projects putting a lot of effort into educating new user bases. I've been in this industry, at least following this industry, and as a DeFi user for over 6 years now. And for the first time, do I see big projects like unicorns in this industry, like very actively approaching Web2 users and educating them and trying to bring them on board, not from a Ponzi scheme perspective where they just say like the more the merrier, and whoever holds the last card is exit liquidity, but from a positive game where they say like we have the ability of growing something that is much bigger than traditional finance. And I 100% believe that the ability like of cutting all of the inefficiencies, cutting all of the middleman, building truly liquid products. I think that's something that we're still underestimating what is possible there. So Kkrusher, Mike, like, love the discussion so far. Where can I learn more about RAAC and how can I get involved?
Yeah, for sure. Follow us on X at Regnum Aurum, REGNUMAURUM. You'll find a Linktree, link to our Discord. We have our testnet out currently, which we'll be adding some features to as well. So new things coming and looking to move into beta soon as well. So things are moving fast. I mean, we like tech, we try to move as fast as possible, as legal allows us to. So yeah, no. Twitter or X and Discord are definitely the best ways to keep up and see what we're up to.
Perfect. So very quickly from my side, so you can follow zkMe on zk.me, very easy domain. Follow us on Twitter, join our Discord if you want to learn more and be involved in the community. zkMe is about to launch accredited investor checks all around the world. So we had several pilots live for US accredited investor, but we're now expanding it to Europe, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Japan as well. And then we'll most likely also go into the credit score market as the next data source. And guys like Kkrusher, Mike, if you have any additional data sources that you want us to tackle, let us know. I think we can build very big things together, and I'm really looking forward to be working together with you guys. Yeah,
for sure. No, we totally total alignment on the Swiss cheese model and tapping into each other's protocols. We're really all about the Lego money. And when we first started building RAAC, zkMe was the obvious solution, and it's incredible to see how much the product suite has expanded, and really proud to be building alongside you guys.
Thank you so much. Hopefully we'll be able to follow up with a second podcast in the near future, maybe celebrating some big milestones coming up post testnet. And up until then, thank you so much, Kkrusher, Mike, for joining. This was a blast. Let's do it again.
100%. Thanks for having us on, and thank you to the audience for listening today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Great. Thanks for being a great host and for the time. And thanks for everyone who does take the time to listen. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys. See you soon.
See ya.